SoulogyNetwork.com. I am honored this day to welcome Sarah Remer and Christine John back to the show. Welcome, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you.
Well, we're excited.
Thank you, Sarah. I specifically asked the both of you back because I've had conversations with both of you since you've been on the show. And I feel it is really important at this moment in time to show our evolution. Like we were speaking before the show, Sarah, our rawness, our vulnerability is our strength. And so that you can speak about where you have traveled in your awareness and knowing, and how you've grown or not grown, or what you've experienced since our last conversation. And so that's what I want to talk about today. It's girl time, it's girl chat, and let's just get real. Let's be honest and open. And I will start with you, Sarah. How would you like to start the show?
I want to start the show really just talking about how this whole ascension process, this whole this growth period that we're in, humanity as a whole, it's not easy. It's not easy. And one of the things that Ana has, we've talked about this many times, is like, there's so many times that I've been in a spot where it's so easy to get derailed. And I have to keep reminding myself constantly that this is part of the process. Like, I'm burning through generational karma. I'm burning through like all of this painful, stuff that's been bottled up inside. It's all coming to the surface for me to look at and feel it. And, one of the things that I really had to understand is that it is okay not to be okay sometimes in this process. And where I'm at now is I feel like I'm starting to kind of come out of like the really heavy stuff, right? And stuff still is coming up. And there are days where I still feel like, oh my gosh, why did I sign up for this? And I have to remind myself, and I look at all the synchronicities. I look at the people in my life, how they've shown up, how, certain things just come through at the last minute, financially, if I'm struggling, or little things like that. And I have to sometimes go back and see how those things fell into place to remind myself that I am where I'm supposed to be, and that is possible, because sometimes I feel like I just cannot see it getting better. And I think a lot of people that are in this process right now are just exhausted, and especially the physical symptoms, the emotions, all of it, dealing with the outside world. I mean, not the relationships, all of it. It just gets to be a lot. And I think it's a really good conversation to have, because there's a lot of people that are still in that process of really struggling with staying in that high vibration. And sometimes you just can't be there. You have to just be, and you have to be okay with it.
And I feel like that's really important, that last statement of being okay with it. And I want to bring Christine on this beautiful conversation and journey. And I know we both just heard what Sarah had to say. Can you relate to what she just expressed, Christine, in your own life?
I can, and thank you for inviting me back. It's really exciting to be with the two of you, and supposed to be here together in the Trinity of three. Yes,
that's right.
I fully can, and being the Aquarius type myself, I've had some interesting things in relationship and job all come at me, and I would have to say the most interesting feelings in the depths of the real challenge is the way that I understand astrology and myself has given me these navigational points. And today, I believe with the Team Humanity, as one fella who I listen to says, we're coming through this gate. So in the adversity and the real challenging things, I have great compassion and empathy for the people who I believe are stuck in the emotional things of it. So I'm able to zoom out a bit, even though there's a Virgo, influence of the new moon, and not and not be so meticulous, because my analytical mind will want to pick it apart and say, okay, what is this all about? See, and I'm excited because I'm standing as a stand post for a lot of the people who are very wavy and upset with a lot of their own stuff, and it's karmically and individually. So I'm really grateful, as I had some challenges myself. I feel rock solid today, and it's because of the vulnerability and like going there. And even though it was so nervous and I was so afraid, and you don't know, I'm just here to say that it's just so awesome, because that's where the deep understanding of self is, and then from there we can really shine our light and be of good service to the world at this time.
Sarah, can you understand the statement of zooming out? You and I have had that conversation.
Absolutely. And the compassion aspect of it. One of the things that I keep one of the things that keeps coming back to me is that we can't do this alone, right? And even when you see like people going through tragedies or devastation, the importance of the people that surround them is it's so important to have people in your life that you feel like you can be yourself with. And not only that, people who have your back. And that's become such a focus for me. It's like, what is abundance, right? We have these ideas in the materialistic world of what abundance is. Abundance
Totally.
is things, these, attaining all these, this life, right? This life where you have the beautiful house and the perfect partner. And, it's just this whole idea of what abundance is shifting so drastically, not only for, I think, myself, but for a lot of people. And it really is the community and the people around you. And we're moving back into that. And having compassion for others is so critical. And you can't do that if you're isolated. You can't do that if you're not connected, because you're distancing yourself from finding those relatabilities.
What I'd like to say is what I found in the last few weeks that was pretty profound is when you really are interested in knowing yourself and going to that journey, which I have been. I didn't get married, I didn't have children, and I've lived very, off the grid, and like just differently than, a lot of that's what the box conventional ways of being. It's so interesting because I'm like, oh, now I get it. Especially we'll talk about the relationship aspect, because if you're your real whole understanding of self, then the other person hopefully, and wants to be of their own, right? It's not the old way of, like, say maybe people have had the marriage because of the incompleteness of them to create the whole. It's 1, 2, and then the pyramid is 3, and we're at this point. I don't know. I'm being led to say this at this time. So in those aspects, so it's all the subjects, right? It's like what Abraham teaches. It's when you're knowing yourself, and then it's the relationship, it's the job, and all that. What is true abundance? It's really the whole complete self, and then the money comes, or the man or woman comes, or the things, And I think that's really the most divine aspect. Knowing what I know now, it's like not really about the dude. It's not about making the money, and it's not even my house. I just had the graciousness of, being asked to live here.
I find it really beautiful because you reminded me, Christine, and that you and Sarah have similar stories when it comes to never had children or have never been married.
Both Aquariuses too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, what day are
Totally.
you born?
Yeah, I was like, I relate so much already. Yeah.
Isn't that so cool? And we're here, you know, in the Pluto. We left that old paradigm of Piscean age, and we're here. And the people need us because it's the Pluto is in Aquarius for the next 20 years, you know, and it's of the genius mind and self, you know, to help however we're doing it, which is really kind of interesting.
And it really is the reflection of people around us, those that we surround ourselves with. Right now, I'm being reflected with you, Sarah, and you, Christine, this show, Soulogy. And when I have conversations with you one-on-one, I explain that that's how I feel the vibrational shift within me is because the outer world is reflecting that back to me.
So true.
I wanted to, Christine, I know the last time we spoke, and feel free to not go there or go there. It's up to you.
Okay.
You spoke that you were in a relationship, and then you and I spoke on the phone, and that has shifted. What awareness around that do you have that you grew from, or, you know, what brought
That's really
gratitude
an
into
question. It's like surfing this wave and understanding the other person's vulnerability and shortcomings of the emotional wanting to go there. So as I understood it and understood myself more, giving the person the space and the time has led it back to another like understanding chapter of the two of us together again. I have no idea what will be the future, but I learned in my own vulnerability. He was really vulnerable, and what the different aspects were in how to breathe, how to give and take, how to give space. What is all of this? You know, it's not me baking and cooking and hey and you know, it's like, well, how do you, you know, it's like this gracious pull and push. It's just like a wild dance. It's very interesting, and I honor myself so much because it goes really deep for me, you know, when I care for someone at this level. As I had told you, Anna, had been single for, you know, 14 years. So the dance is so wonderful and then deep and exciting and enthusiastic, and I always go over the top with everything. So I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe if you do it this way, which was unfamiliar, it's unfamiliar. You don't really know what to do. You can be crying and weeping and then writing and then, but as time has gone on, it's very interesting, very interesting. And it's working. So you say, okay, well, what are we working with? And so far, you know, giving space and coming back into myself and doing my own thing has led it to have some breathing room to check us two out in the relationship. And if it's for the highest good, the show shall be.
Exactly. And with you, Sarah, as well, you and I have had conversations that you have opened up to me about in your relationship and how you're navigating that space. And we spoke about perhaps surrender or acceptance, or we throw around these words, but it's all in our feeling and navigation in our own personal time and at home. How have you been able, and what do you see in yourself at the moment with your relationship and the way you guys are navigating that?
It's coming into it in a different, I guess my idea of a relationship is shifting. And what is that relationship? It used to be more based on we're doing this together versus we're each having our separate journeys and supporting each other along the way. And not only that, it can be a really difficult time to be in a relationship because we're also mirroring back so many things, you know, especially when you're that intimate with someone and you're that close, you're really pushing them to go deeper. You're pushing them to work out some of that really deep, just this lingering stuff that you're having to look at. and it can be painful and it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
And like there's been days where I'm like, I just want to throw in the towel. I'm done. Like, was kind of my old go-to. It was to run. This doesn't feel right. I'm going to run the other direction, and that's always been my go-to, is like, when things are hard, take off, because then you don't have to deal with it. I mean, I come from a background of always finding ways to numb myself and not feel pain and escape. But there's something so cool about actually like sitting in it and looking at not what they're doing, but why is this making me feel this way? And that is that surrender. It's like the detachment from being responsible for them, the other person, and only being responsible for yourself. And it's probably, I mean, understand how so many people are having difficulties navigating the relationships right now, because it's forcing us to really level up in what we even view it like as a healthy relationship. What is a relationship, right? Like, it's not always going to be a certain way, and you have to be able to be okay letting go of that old programming of how you think things are. And it's been an interesting ride. For sure. So I can relate.
So very true. So very true. A lot of clarity I hear in you. And there's some key points there, Sarah, that you hit on that I really love. And that is surrendering that it's not up to you how he navigates his journey. And that you took it back to yourself, which is really important right now.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that they will mirror back to us until we do bring it back to us. And that is so beautiful, so perfect in your description. We are in the week of the fall equinox, which represents harvest. Everything we planted in the spring is up for harvest. For us, our seeds.
Mhm.
Do you have any plans, Christine, for the fall equinox?
I usually do. I work with a shaman who I met through Todd, Stephen Papiatek, and he does a meditation activation, and I've been a part of that group for a while. And I do my own little like ritualistic type things and writing and stuff. Nothing specific. Is it the 21st? Is it
The 23rd.
23rd? Actually, that's really interesting. I am, and I just realized it. I'm 52. I'm doing a workshop on my Saturn return at 3:00 with William Stickevers, another fellow who is an astro financial kind of genius type. And I guess between 52 and 58, you have your Saturn return. And I signed up, I think, not even knowing it was the equinox. That's so interesting.
It's a perfect timing, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. So I guess for me, that's how I study myself, is through navigational points of stars and shamans and things of such. Yeah. So that's, I guess, what I'm doing.
I always find that so fascinating that you're in astrology. Beautiful, Sarah. You channel through your paintings.
Yes.
And you have psychic abilities, and so does your mother. I know you have a long background in connection. How do you feel that plays into your painting, your relationship, the way you're navigating this equinox? How do you feel this is any of these pieces coming together for you right now? Is it making sense?
Yeah, one of the big things that I moved into is really only doing what I feel called to do. I've always been somebody that loves researching, taking classes, going, doing different, like expanding myself by learning from different teachers or different people that are in the spiritual community. And I feel like for the past probably year or two, I'm realizing that I don't need any of that because I can access all of that within myself.
Excellent
And
point.
sometimes having that outside influence kind of can interrupt that in a way where this is what I feel am supposed to be doing, or this is what I feel like I should be doing. And it kind of takes away from that internal guidance. So really where I'm at right now is I'm doing what I feel called to do. And sometimes it's not the conventional thing that other people are doing. And that's okay. So I'm learning to trust my inner compass a lot more as far as like when big events come up like this. And I always end up doing a painting or something around the time. I mean, I'm constantly painting. And a lot of how I process through things and also just receive codes and all of it is through my art. And that's my go-to. And if I try to do it any other way, it doesn't work as well. So I go to what feels right for me. And that's kind of the most important thing that I've realized is that I don't need others to tell me what to do.
Excellent point. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we all have it within us, but it's okay to have guidance.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm really learning that I can be my own guide at this time. And of course, Ana, you help me out so much. Just our conversations, our beautiful conversations and exchanges, and the people in my life, they've come in for a reason. I don't need to seek it. It shows up. And that's always how it's been. So I just need to trust that.
I want to bring up, thank you for the beautiful statement about me and you. I do honor our friendship, you know that so much. You had mentioned in a conversation, and Christine, please feel free to jump in here too. You wanted to talk about how different people are at different stages of their ascension. Mm-hmm. And you were having some reflection and some thought about that. And Christine, do you see that as well? That in your circle of friends and people that you interact with, I feel like where you were going with this, Sarah, is, and I'll let you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so go ahead, because I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. And I kind of touched on it a little bit when I was talking about going through the difficult stuff in the process. Mm-hmm. And even though, if you're in a dark place, doesn't mean you're not on the ascension path. But then, you also have people who are, and I think we've all been there in watching, looking at the world, looking at all the conspiracy theories, connecting the dots, analyzing things. That's a part of it as well. And it's cool to see all the different ways that people are moving towards that. And we're none of it, like there's so much information out there, right? Like, I mean, you're constantly bombarded with information. Yeah. And it's also amazing to me how it can be in your face. And if you don't choose to, look at it or see it, or like there is some unconsciousness too, to everything that's going on. And that's a choice. We all have a choice. So I don't look at, the stages as good or bad. It's just interesting to watch all of the different aspects of people moving towards awakening and the different ways that they're doing it. And it comes in so many forms. And, there was a time when I was the only weird girl that liked to talk about aliens. I was the only weird girl that watched UFO videos on YouTube. And my friends were like, Sarah's kind of, she's that kind of out there a little bit. Now seems to be so common. And then when people are like talking to me about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there. Now I'm kind of moving into a different direction, but it's so cool. It's so cool to watch how many people are starting to expand. And I mean, how many different ways it's happening. The children that are coming in, I believe they're some of our biggest teachers, like they're the parents that are raising them are learning so much through their children right now. It's beautiful to watch. And I've never been a kid person, never wanted kids. I mean, I really believe that my contract was definitely that was not part of my journey already. But it never crossed my mind that might be part of my path. And now I see myself so drawn to children. I mean, just ask Anna. I'm like, if a kid walks in, I'm just like,
I see it.
Yeah, in love with these children that are coming in, and they're so beautiful, and you can see the awareness in their eyes. Like it's just so cool to witness. And I'll start talking to parents like, do you notice this? Yes. They see that their child is lifting its head at 2 weeks, and the way they're more observant now. And it's really cool. I think that they're really coming in with all of those beautiful light codes, and they're here to help us move forward quicker. But anyways, yeah.
It's never too late to have children. Now more than ever, we know that everything and anything is possible. And children can come back on the table now. And that's something that is very possible in your future, in the near future. You don't never say never. Christine, do you think about having children?
No, I've been minding other people's children and animals my whole life. And I have been a mother in a past life. I had 2 children and a husband, and at this life is not for that, which I was learning about myself, doing some shamanistic work on my past lives. So that makes sense, because like you, Sarah, the call was never there, but I've always been drawn to children. And the last place I lived many years ago, there was a small girl on the property, and I was there. Well, she was 1.5 until about 6 years old. It was an interesting experience, and she'd come to my cabin and back and forth, over the many years. And it's just how the universe put her in my path. The light goes, and my sister has 2 children, and so it's just not my thing. But getting back to the subject,
saying it, because I'm like, I was never a kid person.
No, yeah, I feel that indubitably. What I'd like to say about the people and the consciousness and ascension and all those types of words and stuff is, what I've learned in my experience is that I'm definitely like far out, and in a level that's different from some and others. But there's some, like both of you, that understand me because I'm at that different kind of spiritual level. Whereas, say, a friend or a boss who's not able to, be there, is maybe in a darker place or a different place. What's really fascinating to me is not to judge that, thinking that they have to be where I am, and this is happening now and whatever. Because then if you look at things astrologically, it's where they may be in their own chart. And it may be maybe that they're not a part of a certain team of people to bring in light codes or whatever vernacular you want to say. They may be just where they are, and that's good too. And I can dip in and out with them. Maybe it's a smaller conversation, and it doesn't have to be me understanding the things that I know onto the people to help them or elevate them or explain to them. So I've just made peace with that, and they are where they are, and it's perfect. And that's really, really awesome, because I've always been a person that very information and understandings, and they're like, you're trying to explain and tell and teach, and it's like, well, maybe that's not for them, because they're just not supposed to know or get it, or you're not relating on that level. But the person over here, so I've navigated in all these different circles, which is like fascinating, because so that's how it's like a tapestry of weaving. That's how it makes sense to me.
It's shifted. It has shifted. I've even seen it shift within you, Sarah, when I'm with you in our social environment. Your conversation has shifted, as we spoke about on the last time I had you on the show. The conversation has moved to community and gratitude. When we went to Naomi's house and celebrated Maud, you know, I could see that gratitude, that you were really understanding the where we are all stepping into and what heaven on earth represents. It's not a place that you go to, it's a vibration that you meet within yourself. And then the experiences that you're having with everyone that you meet or interact with are from a place of joy and awareness. We become aware that these people are there to show us something, either to play, to laugh, to learn, evolve. It's like your paintings. When we walk through your paintings, they represent something. In each facet of that painting has a different meaning when you were painting it. But it took all those facets to create that whole picture.
What type of painting, what type of an artist are you? Acrylic or oil or large
Acrylic.
canvas? Okay.
Yeah, I work primarily with acrylic,
Cool.
but I've always done art. So I've done pretty much every type. But
Sarah, do you have your last painting?
it's upstairs, and I thought about it.
Oh my goodness.
It.
Darn it. It is amazing. And it's called Ascension, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to come up with a title, and I always have to bring my boyfriend in because he really sees the energy. So it's so cool, like having a relationship with somebody who can see energy. And so I will feel it and he can see it. And
that's so cool.
see energy waves moving in. He can describe how they look. He can describe people's auras, what he sees in their aura, where it's at. And then, you know, the two of us together, we just have a lot of fun talking about it. But yeah, he helps me. Every time I title one of my paintings, I have him help me come up with a title because he'll see the energy in it and what it is. And he said, when I finished his painting, he said, "That's you. That's where you're at right now. It represents you, and it's your ascension. That is what it is." So that's why I titled it. But yeah, I can go grab it.
Go, yeah.
Yeah.
Continue while I'm gone.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
Right.
We'll chat while you're gone.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I'm 52, so the longest part of my career was in the graphic arts. Interesting.
So all your stuff is digital?
It was, yeah. I was in the newspaper business for about 20 years.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. But I have a little fun piece here. When I was in art school, we did some silk screen. So this is a homage to Andy Warhol.
Oh, wow. That is super cool.
I'm off, you see, in the register.
I love that.
You know, so, you know, it cracks me up with my own self because it's I am not of the symmetrical, I'm of the asymmetrical way of thinking. So when it shifts off, you know, so it's layer upon layer, you know, so it's like off. So it's like offset. It's like, great. So it's interesting how her and I are not only Aquarius, but of a creative type mind.
It's so fascinating. And then I have you on the same show.
Yeah. It's always divine, isn't it? All right, girlfriend.
Yeah, let's see this thing.
I'll just kind of pan it up because I'm trying to think of how I can fit this in the whole screen. But
it's so cool. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Huh.
Yeah, and I heard what you were saying about like how we both have the
I did this in college. I mean, this is just sitting on my table.
Oh, I love it.
Warhol, you know. It's a silk screen.
I love it.
I have this artistic table with pictures and rocks and little feathers and all my stuff here. That's interesting. Oh, that's so fantastico.
Thank you.
She was saying what you heard. She said, it's so incredible that her and I are both Aquarius and we're both creative minds. And perhaps we can create something digital on her end. And Sarah, because I know you want to put yours on prints. And maybe you guys can come collaborate on something.
So fun.
And
Yeah,
chat on the telephone.
And yeah, and chat on the telephone.
I love
can-
that. Yeah.
You can
I
find
talk.
each
I don't know
other.
if you can talk, Sarah, but I know I can.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
a lot to say. Yeah, right. It's funny. I knew
We're
it. Excellent.
Aquariuses, right?
Yeah, of course.
We love to talk.
Exactly. Is your boyfriend Aquarius? And if that happens, this will be like so far out. Is he? Is your boyfriend the sign of Aquarius?
Oh, sorry. I cut out for a second. He is oh my God, I should know this. He's a Cancer. But he doesn't
Okay.
not like a Cancer. Like he doesn't have a lot of Cancer traits. He's been told he has more of a Scorpio energy. I think it's Scorpio, yeah. But
Okay,
yeah,
so Aquarius
he's
vibes with that.
a very interesting person. Probably one of the most interesting people I've ever met. And that's why we work.
Totally.
Yeah, I can't have someone who's too
No.
conventional. It just wouldn't be able to handle me.
Thank God for that.
They, is it okay if I share a little bit about how your living arrangement is?
Mhm, sure.
Sarah and Saxton sleep in separate bedrooms. And I found that very in the now, very, what's the word I'm looking for? It gives her space and him space to grow and be honest and open about having their own space and how important that is.
Totally.
And how they don't have to follow the old programs. And I told Sarah from the get-go, I was like, that is incredible. That's what I would do. When you go to bed, and if you've been in a long-term relationship, sometimes people snore or they kick or they roll or they too hot or they like it warmer. And we have this interrupted sleep state. And right off the get-go, Sarah, go ahead. I'll let you take from there.
Yeah, it's just always, I've never done things conventionally. I've never understood the shared bed personally because my space when I sleep, I'm so sensitive, like I feel someone else's energy if they're in the room. So I do a lot of meditation before I go to sleep and when I first wake up. And so it's my sacred space. My bedroom is where I go to bring energy in and release energy. It's my space. And when I met Saxon, he had been married previously and him and his ex-wife both had separate.
Interesting. I have the same thing too.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, and they had
Married
separate
and I am
bedrooms,
not.
and I was like, it was a no-brainer. We're both very similar in how we both really like our independence. We need a lot of space away from each other because that helps us on our own individual journeys. I honestly don't think that my growth would have come as quickly if we would have been in that inseparable traditional romantic relationship, because I need to be out experiencing my own life and he needs to be experiencing his own. And he works with energy in a very different way. He works with energy and like how he navigates things. And it takes him a while to get into a process. And when he's doing something in a day, it sometimes takes him hours just to get into the flow. And if I come in and interrupt that, it breaks it. So we have a huge understanding, which it's taken time because it is so unconventional that we need our separation. And it's really crucial. And when we do come together, we're able to enjoy each other's company. We live together, so I see him, you know, frequently, but it's understanding how, and there has to be a lot of respect for the other person in the level of like, you know, when I go in and interrupt him when he's in the process of something, it will completely derail him for a long time because he thinks and he processes in such a different way. So not taking it personally, right?
Yes, for sure.
Like, oh, you don't want to see me? Like, you know, I just wanted to come in and say hi. And he's always kind about it. But yeah, he's like, I can't have it this way. I need my alone time. So we operate very individually as you know, a partnership. So it's very interesting.
This
it's
is
very
a very interesting conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it works for us. And everybody's different in what works for them, but we don't have to do what society tells us to do.
Exactly
Have
right.
a successful relationship. You have to do
Exactly
what works
right.
for you.
And respecting and knowing their patternizations. I had the charts done so out of respect, and then I study the chart. So the way he processes things is totally different than I do, and I'm understanding myself. I'm like, oh, okay, and so it's just brilliant, and it works out. So if you know all those moving parts, and we are what we are, then we can have a really profound understanding, and it's not what they tell us or our parents or the side or whatever. I can't go with that at all. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. So this way, it's like, okay, he lives separately than me, and then there's 2 bedrooms here, so it could be like that. And I find myself going into my different space. It's brilliant. It's interesting, and it's okay. A lot of people wouldn't think that that's okay. Oh, you don't love it. What is it? And you don't like it. What is it? All the stories. Very interesting. This is an awesome conversation.
I just put my glasses on so I could read some of the chat. Someone just said, that let me remind when I was a kid, I kicked the people in my sleep when my cousin slept, also in my bed with me. And then the next morning, she informed me about it. There's people saying they totally get it. They love the show. The snoring has always been a super annoying. That it's all perfect. Let's see if there was any. I was going to have, if anyone wanted to ask a question in the chat, I do have it pulled open, and then we can ask either Christine or Sarah any questions if someone would like to post a question.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I thought we'd try something new. Sarah, you are the example of what relationships don't have to be. You know, you don't have to live in the same house. You don't have to live in the same shared space. We're redefining what relationship are. And Christine, I know that you would like to, that you related to Sarah a lot. I could see it in you when she was speaking about understanding his patterns and what he likes. And it took him a little time. How long have you guys been dating? A year, Sarah?
October, I want to say it was October. That was last year we started dating. And,
no way. We're a year next Sunday.
Ah.
Huh.
That's very cool.
Somebody just said, we don't own each other. We just team up.
That's it. That's well said.
Love that.
Yeah, I do too. Because then it's a more expansive way. And then the conversations are just even better and better. You know, I said, hey, if you want to come over later and play cards, and he's like, I could do something. And he has children, you know, and different things. And I'm like, well, I'm going live here with the girls, you know, and I'm over here, you know, cooking a chicken, and I got the candles going, you know, so it's like great. And then, you know, we'll see you again, and it'll be like that. And then there's all this dialogue, and it's just like this energy that keeps rolling. It's great. And you see each other, you don't come back together. Yeah, it's just epic. I think it's great to be and show whoever can see this the example of that. It can be, you can define your own thing if you understand yourself and you understand the other person. It can be that, you know. So somebody super, super empathetic like me needs to sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, I can't function. Whereas he is able to only sleep because he was in the military for 4 and 5 hours and can do it. I just can't. So then everything, and then I don't want to be disjointed because like, oh, I'm the perfect girl and I'm just loving you and I'm going to just lay here and, or I'm tossing and turning or he's snoring or it's just whatever, so very cool.
I'm just laughing at all the people that years and years have put up and they
right.
It never dawned on them that that's an option.
Well, my Lebanese grandparents had 2 single beds. It's funny that we're saying this. And as a young girl, I'm like, what's the first thing? They're not sleeping in the same bed. And now you're like, oh, now I understand when you get the understanding.
Yeah. And that's how
exactly.
early on that programming comes in, though. That's the only way to do it.
That's it.
Yeah. As a child, we don't see, that would be weird to us because that wasn't put in, so yeah, it's just really interesting to look at it that way.
It is. This is exciting, I must say, just not only for all of us, but myself. It's like, people finally understand. Okay.
I know. I love it. I love it so much. What I was going to say, sorry, I'm like, I always have a thought.
Now we're out there.
I'm trying not to be a captain interrupter.
Interrupter.
But I always have a thought and I get excited to get it out. But one of the big things that I don't think it's really about focusing on doing things differently. I think when you get to a place where you love and when you go into yourself as whole, when you start really having that self-love, relationships change because it's natural too.
That's right.
Because
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. So this wasn't always me. I had a lot of trauma on, I used to, one of the things I struggled with for years is that I'm not worthy of love. That was a huge one. I'm undeserving of love. I'm undeserving of a lot of good things happening to me. And I had created this persona of myself that was who I was. So therefore, when I would be in a relationship, I would be overbearing. I would be giving to them constantly to a fault. A lot of times where I had nothing left for myself, whether it was my energy, financially, just giving and giving and giving, because therefore I'm making myself worthy. Because otherwise, what do I have? What do I have to contribute? And that was such a pattern for me for so long. It took me understanding where, having to go deep to understand where that came from. So,
and now you realize that you're enough.
Yeah.
Just by being Sarah and Christine being Christine and showing up as yourself, and that you're the self-worth, your self-worth of self is like Saxton, having me in your life is enough. That is the gift.
I don't need validation anymore.
You don't. You don't need that reflection.
Like me to feel like, okay, well then I'm lovable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Huge.
I guess that's probably from the trauma. It's a reversal, right? Definitely can relate to that. It's, if I do this and that and the other thing, but if you reverse it, then the other person, the soul that we're, chilling with, it respects it more, and then it changes.
Right. We can now see that we were coming from a place of fear.
Yeah. That's another great point.
Our responses were fear-based. Oh, he might leave me if I don't do this, or if I don't give him this money, or I don't show up to this with him, or allow this to occur, or whatever stories was in each of our lives. Our responses were fear-based. And now that we're in different places of self-love and self-worth, we can reflect on how we show up differently.
You can feel that too, Anna, when you show up now and it's great to have these real hard bumps in the road. And then you're looking at it again. It's like looking at Sarah's painting, and we can look at it like 10 times and we can probably see something different in it. And it's like this guy, and you're like, who is this being before me? It's like different than yesterday, and he's mine. He's a shapeshifter. And I was like, there's a very mysterious thing in it all. It's so cool and interesting. So we're still here. My God, it's been something, hasn't it? I'm laughing. I don't know if I'm exhausted or overly excited or what.
I love this so much. I love this conversation. Sarah, when your responses aren't from fear, the results are different, when you say, in your life.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it takes enough of them. To show up for me to be like, maybe it's me. And we've all been in certain times in our life where we get stuck in a little loop, doing the same thing but expecting some different results and getting the same thing over and over again. And then why is this happening to me? It's so, I see people in it, and it's painful to watch, because I know that it's not until they choose to do the healing that they'll get out of it. And there's nothing I can say to, change it. But, I think that's part of why we need each other, because we've all been there in our journey in some aspect, right?
I would like to say this, that holding space for that person going through that experience in their time, in their way, is most important. And I thought my good-natured self was going to help them. And it's absolutely incorrect. Why? They have to experience it for the lesson to be learned for their own soul to understand it. And when I understood that, it's not as painful as an empath for me to watch them. And I'm like, good for you. It's perfect. Even though it may be really shitty right at this moment. And I'm like, good for you. I'm saying to myself, for people, it's great. And it just changes that whole thinking process as well. I'm sure people can relate to that statement.
They are. In the comment section, somebody said, easy peasy. Yes, that's the way, from Amanda. Thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. I'd love to share the audience is really enjoying both of you. Thank you so much, Sarah and Christine. We still have 7 minutes. So I would love to give Christine, why don't you start? So I'll give you, you each 5 minutes to this is your spotlight show of the week, of the month. What do you want to talk about, Christine?
Well, I would just like to say thank you to the universe and both of you lovely ladies for giving me the opportunity to show up in this way in my whole self here, and talking about the things I've experienced and sharing, the weirdness of it all and the beauty of it all too. It's a tumultuous thing, but we're all here to help each other out, and I find it really fantastic at this time, because there's something really strong about this day on this 18th, and I just want to say that it's really great to do it with everybody together, and I'm grateful for Todd and all the different people I've come together with to have me become my best self that I am now. And I honor this space, and I hope that we can touch a lot of people. And I'm interested in connecting in a different way with a lot of people, however it is, through a platform, through artistic relations, through conversation. So thank you, Anna, and take it away, Sarah.
Yay!
Well, I second that. I'm super appreciative of you inviting me back on, Anna, and appreciative of Todd for creating this beautiful platform. And it's really beautiful to be able to share with other people who are on this similar journey. And I was thinking of a story or something that happened to me back in 2020 when I was going through a really difficult time, and I was in a lot of pain, and I was really not wanting to be here anymore. And I had this dream one night, and it like really affected me, and I still think about it all the time. But I was brought off planet, and I was brought to another planet. There was this young like little alien child that came to me out of a school, and he said to me, "Do you know how many souls wanted to sign up to be there at this time? And do you know how lucky you are?" And I was like, "Really?" Really? Like, I kind of laughed at him. And he said, "We have to watch." He almost kind of like kind of showed me an image of like a stadium, and like we were on the, we were on the field and they were in the bleachers. And he said that this was the coolest time to be on planet Earth. And whenever I'm going through a really difficult time in my life, and I'm, feeling a lot of those feelings surfacing and burning through a lot of that generational karma or trauma or just things coming up, I remind myself of that dream. And it will never leave me because it was so profound. And since then, I've heard that message through other channelers.
I've heard it.
The exact same thing of like how lucky we are to be incarnated at this time, and how, we're on this wild adventure that so many souls wish they could have signed up for. And it's like we got the ticket in, So It's a really good reminder, and hopefully that sharing that helps some other people remember that we are lucky to be here. And I know it doesn't feel like it all the time. And I know sometimes
That's right.
it feels like, the rug's getting pulled out from under us, like we're getting burned at a stake. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not easy.
No.
But we're lucky to be here. So that's really what I wanted to share. And also, I feel very lucky to be here sharing this with you ladies. So
I feel so blessed in this moment. And this is really the gift. It's girl time, #girl time with Sarah and Christine. And it's having the opportunity to share the space with technology and the people that we're connected with, that we're constantly connecting even with more people. I know that after the show, Christine and Sarah will probably want to exchange information.
For sure.
Because you guys are a lot alike
Yay.
in situations. I thank you for coming on Authenticity and being vulnerable with me. I thank you from my heart to yours. But before I say goodbye from Soulogy Network, Sarah, where can people find your beautiful paintings?
Well, right now they can find me on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram is SR212. And then my Facebook is Sarah, SARAH, Remer, REMER. And I'm posting new paintings constantly. I mean, they're coming out. People always ask me, like, how do you paint so fast? I don't know. It's just constant.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. And Christine, I feel like you're going to explore some of this graphic design as moving forward in the digital world where we are.
Maybe.
We don't know. We can interwoven it with new ideas, or perhaps if you want to share, if anyone wants to contact you for anything.
Well, as a graphic artist, one can create anything, from a small to a large billboard thing.
But you're on Facebook and Instagram, or if somebody wants to.
No, I'm just on Facebook as myself. I don't publicize. I'm not in that particular profession anymore. I photo edit. Always been a photographer since I'm, you'll just see my pictures a lot, just of the sunsets, or I live out by the beach and stuff, and and whatever not. There were moments of strange things like the crystal hit the wall the other day, and you saw that, Anna, and
Yeah,
the
it was
lights
beautiful.
and yeah, just like the sunset. But I'm not selling my art, or at this point,
No,
not as a professional artist.
and that's not what I mean. But as we move forward and start creating communities and ideas and co-creations,
Yeah.
knowing what your gifts are and abilities,
Oh, okay.
when we share with people what we do and what maybe Sarah will have an event or I'll have something coming up.
I would
And
make a poster for you.
yes, or
If
yeah,
you make a graphic page that you would upload in a PDF form of such, with your painting and your name and the fonts that you would want, and the attached business card. I don't know, some things like that. Yeah, I have all those abilities for sure.
yeah, because she used to work with a newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, and everyone who's listening, we thank you from soulogynetwork.com. Come subscribe, support us, come join the family. We are going to be in Sedona. I'll be there from the 21st through the 26th. Soulogy is having an event on the 24th at 7:00 and on the 30th. And then, of course, Sarah and Christina invite you to join me in Soulogy in Texas, in Houston for Soulogy Fest 2023. I am going to take this moment and announce that I will not have a show next Monday. I will be enjoying my last day in Sedona before returning back to Idaho. So I will post a reminder that there will be no show, but the following week I'll be back on. I love you both. Stay in contact. Christine, thanks for everything. Bye-bye, ladies.
Bye bye.